Hybrids are known for being remarkably efficient for around town fuel economy, but what about on the highway? Today we're going to find out. In this video, we're going to head out and do 100 miles on the highway to get a realistic fuel economy number for this 2022 Toyota Camry Hybrid. Before we get started, let's hop out and take a look at it. Not that this generation is exactly new anymore, but surprisingly, we haven't had one of these normal, more commonplace Camry hybrids in. We've only had the TRD, which I think is a silly model. Not as silly as the Avalon TRD, but still silly. I think the Camry hybrid is the way to go. If you're going to buy a car like this that's great for kind of just more average everyday driving, commuter style, why not get the most bang for your buck in terms of efficiency? If you do want to see more on the Camry Hybrid, we've got a link to the JBL audio system review in the description, as well as a DM test drive. Now, why do we do this test? Well, the EPA's highway fuel economy test, which gives the Camry Hybrid 47 miles per gallon, that test only averages 48 miles per hour. We know there are plenty of people who take their vehicles on long highway trips and would like to know what sort of numbers you can realistically expect in the real world. In order to test that, we're going to head on over to the Shell gas station here, fill up, do 50 miles in one direction, come back in the same direction, 50 miles, fill up at the same pump using the same 3-click fueling method, and get a result. A few things to note for today. Outside temperature is 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Tire pressures have been set to their door placard, 35 psi cold. I feel like it's important to note that because when I checked the tires today, they were way up at 41 psi, so I don't know if Toyota was trying to pull a fast one on their reviewers or what, but we always check to make sure we're running at whatever the car says it should be run at, so in this case 35 psi, and we're going to run the climate control at 73 degrees auto. Now yes, this might use the air conditioning, but that's how people travel in the real world, and without it, we would roast. Let's hop out and fill it up. 2.411 gallons going in for our initial fill. Before we actually start the engine, I'm going to reset our GPS and our trip computer. We're ready to begin. A few different drive modes in the Camry Hybrid. You've got Eco, Normal, and Sport. We will be doing this test in Eco. We're going to head on over to the highway. It's about half a mile away. Pick up the test from there. Now, we're not trying to get the best possible fuel economy on the highway for this car. A lot of people say, oh, it's a hybrid, why aren't you doing a city MPG test? It's like, well, the whole point is to see what you can get on the highway. That's where people are putting on big miles. If you're doing 200-300 miles in the city in a day, then you're probably an anomaly. But in order to do that, we're going to get, So in order to do that, we're going to get on up to highway speeds here at a reasonable pace, set our cruise control to a GPS indicated 72 miles per hour. That should allow us to average 70 over the whole test. It does look like our car's speedometer is about a mile per hour or two above the GPS. So we're going to set at 74. And we are off. Initial highway impressions are good. Fairly quiet in here, a little bit of extra wheel noise, road noise, but pretty calm other than that. So we're going to continue on with the rest of the test and catch up with you at the end. In the meantime, enjoy this time lapse of the entire trip. Coming into the end of the highway fuel economy test here in the Camry Hybrid, getting one better than EPA, 45 miles per gallon according to the trip computer. It's been a nice smooth ride. I'm not a big fan of Toyota's adaptive cruise control. It's just too conservative. I typically drive Toyotas with adaptive cruise control off because even on the closest following setting, the car will be a good deal in front of you and it starts slowing down. You're like, come on, man. And maybe it's because we're in eco mode, might be a little bit more conservative in that case, so it can save fuel, be economical. But still, other than that, it's a good highway cruiser. Good comfortable seats, not too loud. The Avalon is definitely a better highway mile muncher, but Camry Hybrid is not too bad. I would be really curious to test the fuel economy of just the naturally aspirated base 2.5 liter engine. I do think it would do better on the highway. Unfortunately, Toyota just doesn't stock a bunch of those these days. The Camry's not a hot new vehicle, and the few that they do have around, they're fully loaded. They're typically V6s or hybrids like this or something. They're trying to show it off. But we will try to get one of those more basic 2.5 liters in for a fuel economy test and see if we can beat this number. That being said, let's get this back over to the pump, fill up, and see what our final number is. 2.390 gallons going in for our final fill. 108.4 divided by 2.390 is giving us 45 miles per gallon, and that is remarkably accurate with the car's trip computer, 45.5. Not too bad for a hybrid. They don't tend to get quite as good fuel economy on the highway as in the city, obviously, just because you're not really taking advantage of that battery boost, that electric boost much, not as efficient. We are rocking a 13.2 gallon fuel tank here in the hybrid, so 13.2 times 45 is giving you an effective highway cruising range of 590 miles here in the Camry Hybrid. Now keep in mind, you would get even better fuel economy numbers with one of the lower trims, the different wheels. Those get up in the 50s according to EPA, and if the data tracks and the EPA numbers are pretty correct for this car in the real world, you could be getting 50 miles per gallon with one of those. Thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the Camry Hybrid, check the links in the description, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.